Okay, chapter 22. Create a point control so the ditches utilize the special ditch profile, the one that we just stored in the previous chapter. Okay. Now we're going to talk more in depth on point controls because there's so much you can do with it. Here we're only going to talk point controls just really as they pertain to a special ditch profile. We won't get too in depth on it. The next road class, the road 2 class, yeah, we'll talk about all these things like parametric constraints and point controls and condition exceptions and all these things. And then there's a million different ways that you can adjust your model to fit just about any situation imaginable. So, okay, so we're going to go view. Well, first I should say I'm sitting in the corridor file. For this I'm going to need at least 3 windows, if not 4. In fact, maybe I'll go ahead and just open 4 windows. And then to arrange them, I'll go up to my View tab. And if I click Tile, it'll move them around and make it easy for us to work here. Okay, so up until now, as far as using some of these view controls, we've mostly only held that right mouse button down in order to just be able to view our model in 3D. But there's also other combinations. There's the 3D, there's cross sections, profiles, super elevation, or then some combination of. And so really here we need just about everything. We don't necessarily need the 3D model, but since we have 4 windows up, let's go ahead and use that one. So we're going to see everything at the same time. So I'm going to release, and in window 2, my 3D model is set up there. And what does this? Select OK to create a dynamic profile view. OK. Select the plan element. So I want to select that proposed alignment right there. And then it says what view. It should be saying, well, wait a minute. Okay. Select the alignment. Oh, it's asking for an offset. It must be trying to do cross sections. Okay. If it asks for an offset, that's what it's looking for. So it's what is your left offset? Yeah, we can do it that way. So here it's viewing our, we're going to view our cross sections by the alignment, not by the corridor this time. And if you do it that way, you have to specify how far out left and right to go. So that's what I'm doing here. And then it says, where do you want to start? You know, wherever. What's the interval? And then select the window. Okay, the only thing we didn't get accomplished is the profile for some reason. I did something wrong, but does not matter because I can always go back at any time and go to my geometry tab, open profile model, click on that alignment, and then click in the view. Alright, so I'm looking at my plan view here in the upper left hand corner. I've got my 3D view, which I probably don't really absolutely need it for what we're going to do here, but it's kind of cool to see it. I guess you'd be able to see the model change on the fly. You know, that's, I guess, might be worth it. I think by default would we go with like a 2-foot ditch bottom or something like that. But see, the ditch depth it's going to change all the way throughout. Actually, what we ended up here with is that everything is draining in this direction, which is actually east, and then once it gets to the side road, then it goes straight south to hit a creek. But anyway, let's go ahead and control that point. So I need to zoom in so I can see, like I don't see the point listed on the cross section, but I know that right at that inside, right where that foreslope intersects with that bottom of the ditch on the inside, I know that's where the point is, and so I'm going to use this later to identify that point. It's one way to identify it. And then the profile here, I'm going to, of course, identify that to be used. And so now, and there's a couple different ways we can set these point controls. One we did earlier is go to corridor and then hit that bucket, go to your corridor, and do it that way. So since we got to the, we're not going to do it this way. I'll bring that up again just so you remember. This is kind of what keeps track of everything that's in your corridor, your template drops, and all these other things. Well, right now we're going to be doing point controls, and we've actually set a point control already. If we may or may not fully realize that. That was like a special point control, and that was for super elevation. We were controlling that the same way. We controlled the edge of pavement, and now we're going to control again points which are the ditch bottom. So let me close this because I'll show you that you don't really have to bring up that box necessarily. Most things you can do, it's kind of a heads-up display type situation. If I hover over that corridor, I get all these choices here, and a lot of these choices would be in that big dialogue that came down. There's multiple ways we can do this, but if I go over to the hammer, so it's corridor creation tools, and then I can drop down to whichever one of these is point control. Let's see, it's that one. So it's third from the bottom. So I'm going to create a point control, and then it should just be asking me some questions, and I'll answer it. I guess I must still have this Civil AccuDraw turned on, which is kind of annoying there. I think I'll turn that off. Alright, because we don't need it for what we're doing here. Okay, so it says from what station to what station do you want to assign this point control? And even if you had multiple templates within this one corridor, as long as the points were named exactly the same, we can actually create a point control that will have an impact on all templates within the corridor. So anyway, lock to start was toggled. That's why that's ghosted out. That actually just so happens to be where we are starting. So yeah, I think I'll just accept that. And then where do you want to stop? And that would be at the end of the profile. So this is what's nice. I can really work in any of these views and snap to anything. It's very nice. So you don't have to write everything down and key everything in. So I'm just going to snap to the end of that special ditch profile, data point to accept, and then it says, okay, give a description. It says right ditch, so I'll say, okay, sounds good to me. And then it says what point, or it says locate point. So what point is it that you want to be control? What point do you want to control in some way? And that's where I got two options here. I could either go, in the dialog, if I hit the drop down, I'll see all the points that are in my templates. And I could find it in there. It's probably towards the bottom. SS ditch in. I know it's actually that one there. But it's generally much safer if you're not, because there's, as you work, you end up with tons of points. And to make sure you're controlling the right point, I'd recommend just having your dynamic cross sections up like this, and then just hover right at that intersection where that point is located. Data point there, and then see up where the point is, see how it populated that. And then it says, okay, how do you want to use this point control? You've got some different modes. Do you only want to control that point vertically? Remember when we create points in the templates, there's horizontal constraint, vertical constraint. Well, in this particular case, I don't want to do anything horizontally because, well, actually, I stored the special ditch right at the alignment, which really has nothing to do with horizontally where the ditch is, right? So really, I only want to control the point in the vertical constraint. So you can see there you have choices. So I'm going to leave that set to vertical. And then the control type, I think that's the right one, linear geometry. Yep. Plan element. And here, well, here actually you have to accept these, the heads up prompt. Vertical, yes. Linear geometry, yes. And then it tells me either locate the plan view element or the profile. And in this case, I think I would need to select the profile because it's not the active profile, but I want to select that profile. So I'm going to select the profile, not the alignment, which is where I placed my special ditch profile. And one priority, okay. And then do I want to offset from that special ditch? And no, I want the special ditch to be exactly where we designed it. So we want to leave that to 0. So okay. And then it should be processing here. Might take a second. And when it does, yeah, we should see our right ditch should be variable now, right? Or if I was zoomed in on the model, you could probably see that happen also. Probably the easiest way to be able to see that it worked is maybe I will use my place vertical temporary dimensions. Oh, let's see, I guess I was still in that other point command. Alright. Yeah, I might have to reset a couple times because, okay. Now, always remember that only one view can be kind of active at a time, and that's going to be the dark one, so that throws me off once in a while. So I want to work in the cross-section view here just so I can analyze the depth of the ditch. So that the ribbon is dark blue. I right-click, or I hold down the right, place vertical temporary dimensioned. Oh, I know why this is not working. We'll get it to work. Remember when I said that we can dynamically view cross-sections multiple ways, either by the alignment or by the corridor. But if I do use the alignment method, there's limited functionality, right? So I am going to go up and kind of redo my dynamic cross-section. So I go to corridor, dynamic sections, open a cross-section window. I'm going to select the corridor this time instead of the alignment. And then I'm just going to use that same view, that view 7 there. So now I'm working off of the corridor, not the alignment. And then I have much more functionality. It's going to put out these little points where I've got some kind of special control going on, a point control. And for my super elevation, there's those 3 points that are controlled by a point, and then there's the inside. So I know that the point control is working in this case, but still, let's go ahead and right click and select vertical temporary dimension, and I'll select something like edge pavement, bottom of the ditch, and then say where I want that dimension to be. And it says 2.161. So over here, that particular elevation puts us that 2.161 down from the edge of pavement. So now if I toggle through this, right, that number should be changing, right? Because that special ditch profile is what was it, 0.3, I think? Yeah, so that special ditch profile will be getting deeper, I guess. Yeah, through this section anyway. in there, this this is nice that we can see both in the model view, in the plan view. Let's see if you can see it in the profile view. Not in the profile view, but the other two views, as I toggle, it's showing me, even though I could look at the station, it's showing me exactly where that dynamic cross-section is being cut. Couple ways, once you are storing your, you're going to end up probably with many point controls and other constraints. Multiple ways that, we're done with this now. We've assigned the point control to, we're good to go. But you can still edit that point control later, or delete it, or whatever you want to do, or just check your job to see what point controls were used. Again, multiple ways of doing that. I can always use that bucket, click the corridor, and now if I click point control, in addition to those two super point controls, you now also see the special ditch profile, and I can change any of this, information. It's all data driven. Everything in ORD is data driven. So you change the data, the graphics change with it, the computations change with it, which is pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to exit out of that. Other ways of looking at point controls, I can always go to Explorer. I can check to see what all is within this particular corridor. So that's the name of the corridor. Remember, we have just that one template in the corridor. If I drop down to point control here, there are the 3 point controls. And I could do an element info. And that's another way I can view that same data. That's that point control. And I can change data, here if I wanted to in this view. So there's many, locations where you can change things. So try not to show you too many methods, but those are like primary methods of viewing these things. So I just wanted to at least cover those couple. All right, let's go ahead and end here, I think. And let me see what's next. Setting up plan and profile sheets. Okay, we only did one. We only did the right side for the special ditch. We'd probably come back and do the other in a real design, scenario. Use that same special ditch profile. You can do that if you like to your other ditch. I'm not too concerned. This training class, I'm just trying to teach you how to assign a point control for the purpose of a special ditch profile, and we've done that at least one time. So let's end it there.